Nighttime on still waters. This is NB 506812, narrowcasting into the night from somewhere on Britain's waterways. October, Monday. Wind buffets and rocks the boat. The mooring lines tighten and slack. Fenders creak, and the calendar on my desk gently swings. Reed pennants measure the gusts that sweep the length of the canal. Rooks stream ragged across the sky, stabbed with jackdaw calls. It's a still night, veiled by cloud. A hazy, watery moonlight falls softly on the mirrored surface of the water. An edge of coolness, damp and chill, creeps along the fields ankle high. A couple of wary rabbits play in a hint of mist under the gnarled benevolence of the rook-loved one oak. This is the narrowboat Erica, narrowcasting into the milk-soft darkness of an October night, to you, wherever you are. You made it. I'm so glad that you could come. It's a lovely night, and it's a shame to come inside, but there is a wrapping chill that is beginning to fall. So come inside where it's warm, and the kettle is on, and there's a seat waiting especially for you. Mind your head as you come down the steps, and welcome aboard. The leaves of autumn drop by twos and threes, and a black cloud hung over the old low church is fixed as is a rock that never stirs. But look again, and you will perceive the weathercock is in another sky, and the cloud passing leaves the blue behind. John Clare knew his seasons well, and this so perfectly describes the ever-changing mercurial nature of the weather recently. Breathlessly still days, followed by racking winds that tear the clouds across the skies and the leaves from the trees. The first named storm of the season has come and gone. Fruit and leaves, twigs and brittle branches litter the towpath, giving Maggie much to sniff over. The day and the nighttime temperatures seesaw, and with it conversations about whether or not to light the stove. Our central heating is being a little erratic recently, and so a few days back, when the nighttime temps were sinking into the low single figures, we lit the fire. It was lovely and cosy, and then nicely warm. And then, let's open a few windows and the duck hatch kind of warm, to, wow, I'm absolutely baking here, warm. These are the mornings of heavy dews, glistening like hoarfrost over the mushroom-crowned meadows webbed with sheep trails and spider thread. And once more Wellington boots are the order of the day. The damp chill of night lingers later into the mornings. The smaller trees are beginning to turn. Large victories of wild geese trail across the skies morning and evening, their song calling to those below with lost and injured souls, reminding us that there are other worlds, deeper and richer than our own. And below them, the towpath and the neighbouring fields are washed with the tawny and russet colours of autumn. There's been a lot of talk recently of this has been a mast year, a year of great abundant harvest of fruit and nuts. And footsteps crunch beneath beech and oak. I noticed a few weeks back when we were further up the canal, there was a good supply of hazelnuts. The birds and the squirrels are happy. And certainly the hips and haws, already darkening to blood and old port, slow and bryony, still hang thick along the towpath. The blackthorn, blown over by one of the gales 3 years ago, is heavy with vine-like clusters of sloe. And where crab-apples grow, the air is sharp with the smell of cider. Thank you so much for all your comments following the last episode on Friday Night is Crisp Night. I don't recall ever having as much feedback on a single episode before. It clearly struck a chord. And the audience of Nighttime on Still Waters are clearly very discerning connoisseurs of crisps, or potato chips. Although I did have to laugh at Chris's comment from the narrowboat The Land of Green Ginger about how she would add extra vinegar to her salt and vinegar flavoured crisps. I did exactly that too, and then tried to convince myself that this vinegary, soft, pulpy mass was an improvement. Another long-time listener, Mike Bullock, remembers Friday nights with his sister sharing bags of corn chips, especially Doritos, as their family gathered to watch Knight Rider and the Dukes of Hazzard on television. And I'm really glad that you managed to get to see some narrowboats, Mike, when you were over here, and fingers crossed for both you and Linda. And Jason Polite is also a self-confessed advocate of a good corn chip, while mentioning how Karen, his wife, loves prawn cocktail. Now, that is the touch of the exotic. Oh, I can remember a sense of wonder and amazement when they first came out in their brightly pink packets. I have to say that I'm rather partial to them too. And I guess they were one of the first that introduced sweetness into a savoury snack, which is something really popular now. The other one at the time, now I might be dreaming this, so if you remember it too, please let me know. But I'm sure it was tomato juice, and it even included a kick of Worcester sauce. And that too was quite sweet, and I quite liked those as well. Although, if given a choice, I always used to go for the salt and vinegar. And talking of sweet savoury crisps, Captain Arlo owned up to loving the honey barbecue flavour. And then the captain also went on to reminisce how about 30 years ago he and 2 of his friends used to religiously meet every Friday night at a local bar to have drinks, shoot darts and vent about the work week. And he went on to say how nearly every Friday one of the regulars that also came to the bar was Tony, a small elderly man in his early 80s. He would come into the bar and take a seat around about 8 p.m, and like clockwork, Tommy, the barman, would immediately place a small glass of beer in front of him. Tony sat by himself, and over the course of a couple of hours he would consume 2, rarely 3, beers before heading home. The bar had a shuffleboard table along one wall, and occasionally Tony would have a game with another patron, or simply practice if the table was free. He would also wax the table thoroughly beforehand, and he would slide the shuffleboard weights wherever he pleased. Mostly, though, he kept to himself. One Friday, Tony comes to the bar, and as it was crowded, he's forced to sit next to where my friends and I are playing darts. While waiting for his turn to play, my friend strikes up a light conversation with him, and learns that he was a World War II pilot, bombardier. That explains his shuffleboard accuracy. And as is my dad, my friend enjoyed reading about historical aircraft and had a guide to wartime planes. The following Friday, he brought it to the bar, and when Tony showed up, we ditched darts to show him the book. His face lit up like a child on Christmas morning. As he flipped through each page, It seemed that there wasn't a single plane he hadn't flown in, piloted himself, or an enemy aircraft he couldn't comment upon. Tony went from usually quiet and reserved to a non-stop fountain of stories and details about each plane, enough to fill several guidebooks. We later learned he also served in the Korean War. Needless to say, Tony left the bar much later that night. And for the next few Fridays, my friends and I skipped darts and played shuffleboard with Tony. None of us could beat him solo. Your only shot at winning was if he was on your team. Tony moved out of the area not long after. His home had been in a floodplain and had been hit several times over the years. So when he finally got a buyout offer, he took it. And as our lives changed, our Friday routine slowly wound down over a couple of years. After that, the three of us only dropped in for occasional special appearances. Our last visit together was on the bar's final day of 2019, before Tommy closed it for good. So thanks for bringing Tony back to mind. I can just picture him leaning over the shuffleboard table, lining up one of his precision shots. Ah, that's lovely, Captain. And it's amazing how these strange random encounters can grow and leave such a mark on our lives. And we never know whose lives we touch just by meeting and talking and perhaps just even smiling. And that episode also set off some memories for Jeff Taylor, which in turn set a few off for me. Jeff wrote, "You're correct that there's something uniquely special about Friday nights serving as the gateway to the weekend. I too eagerly anticipated a special treat following my week at school. My treat consisted of a Vesta curry, a highly popular line of dried meal kits introduced in the UK during the 1970s. Oh yeah, Vesta. Brilliant. It was considered quite exotic for that era. You're right, Jeff, it was. Requiring the addition of freeze-dried ingredients to boiling water and then simmering them on the gas hob. Jeff then goes on and says, however, as the 1970s progressed, increasing unemployment meant that Dad was often on short hours or in and out of work. And coupled with high inflation at the time, the Vesta curry was becoming a costly indulgent for a family striving to get by on an ever-limited budget. Yet Dad, being the resourceful man he was, decided to create his own version of my favourite Friday night meal. Thus, he ventured off to the shops in search of the necessary ingredients. And this was where things took an unexpected turn. After successfully locating a tub of curry powder, there was a slight error in the measurements, as tablespoons were mistakenly used instead of teaspoons. This led to an exceedingly spicy, inedible curry that was far too intense for our taste buds at the time, resulting in the entire batch regrettably having to be discarded since none of us could eat it. The recipe was never attempted again, but Dad's passion for cooking and experimenting remains with me to this day, with the Vesta curry continuing to evoke strong feelings of nostalgia. Oh, Jeff, yes, Vesta meals. What exotic and truly indulgent treats. Thanks so much for reminding me about them. And I must tell you all sometime about my own story concerning Vesta, this time a Chinese Vesta. I think actually you can still buy them. Although, like most things, the box seems much smaller than I seem to remember them as a child. Hello also to Anna, and I'm glad you enjoyed the Bloody Mary incident. And also a big hello to Cat Ashley on YouTube. Oh, I love the way you describe this podcast. The lost art of listening, imagining, and dissolving into distant worlds I've yet to visit. That's lovely. Thank you, Cat. And now all that remains for me is to say a big thank you to all of our Lockwheelers for supporting this podcast thank you all so much. And they are Susan Baker, Mind Shambles, Clare Hollingsworth, Kevin B., Fleur and David McLaughlin, Lois Raphael, Tanya Yorgay, Andrea Hansen, Chris Hines, Chris and Alan on the narrowboat The Land of Green Ginger, Captain Arlo, Rebecca Russell, Alison on the narrowboat Mucker, Derek and Pauline on Silver Fox, Anna V, Orange Cookie, Mary Keane, Tony Rutherford, Arabella Holtzapfel, Rory with MJ and Kayla, the narrowboat Precious Jet, Linda Reynolds Perkins, Richard Noble, Carol Ferguson, Tracy Thomas, Mark and Tricia Stowe, and Madeline Smith. Thank you. A Sunday morning at the moorings, under the gentle swell and fold of sheep and cow pasture, deep in the heart of Shire country. On the crest of a whale-back spine of hill above the owl-chapelled oak, a small herd of soft, dewy-nosed cows contentedly graze upon the newly green grass. And over the hill, the bells of the parish church ring out the rolling peals of their antique call to worship. Gusty kicks of wind play with their tones as they rise and fall as if the chimes are in some wild whirl of a dance with the jackdaws and gulls, wren and magpie. Now loud, now soft, giving way to rook call and response, and the passing traffic on the nearby road, too busy to stop and join in. Moorings are singular places, each with their own character, moulded and formed by the often overlooked and incidental features, social and geographical. Each one is different. Each one flows to its own rhythms and the ever-changing local eddies of air and water, and of its mostly unspoken, undefined mores and cultures, as different boaters come, join, and then go. The colours, the taste in the air, the sense of welcome or other, no two are the same. What the ancient geographers would refer to as the genius loci, the often indefinable essence that creates a specific sense of place and sets it apart from everywhere else. And yet there is also an undeniable common thread. The same water flows alongside and lifts the boats on the slow seasonal rise and ebb. The specific rhythms and patterns may differ, but there is a common language, a language of more than just vocabulary. In fact, on the canals, a common vocabulary is hard to find. Even the terminology for the most basic things shift, morph. Some moor their boat, others tie them up, others still find no problems with just saying that they park them. And do we cruise, steer, drive, helm, or even sail our boats along these watery paths? Although you will find plenty of very strong opinions on which language is correct. It is generally personal, and perhaps local, certainly not national. No, this common language, this common thread, is not lexical. It's more about the shared experience, those little routines that have almost become patterned into rituals. Checking fuel, water levels, battery checks, engine checks. Small tasks that have almost become instinctive. And with them, that recognition that we all partake in the small joys of sliding back the hatch and feeling sunshine, and the joy of knowing that the hiking of the waste along to the waste disposal point, or even more, the carting of a heavy toilet cassette, can be done in the dry and the relative warmth. The little triumphs are celebrated in that tingle of joy at the thought of a full water tank and an empty toilet cassette. And these are the rhythms and the rituals that bind us together, played out in the elements, up and down the waterways. You'll find them occurring. A cup of tea while filling the water tank, a chat to the ducks or geese that suddenly gather on your appearance, the clank of the dustbin lid as last week's ashes are emptied into the ash can. And it's Sunday, and the sun is shining, and the morning is already beginning to grow old. And like most places, Sundays are usually a slow and relaxed start for most here, although the towpath is already busy with an almost constant stream of walkers and bikers. And on the hill, selfies are taken with the colourful cluster of painted boats below. And parents hoist their children onto the railings to show them the boats. And the concept of the canal is explained in simple and sometimes more elaborate terms. And a few boaters begin to emerge into the sunshine. The picture book castling cathedral of clouds, wool white, blow in like galleons from the west. And the church bells play around their crenellations. Even the sky-flung kites get their invitation to worship, it seems, on this sunny Sunday morning. I toss a frisbee to Maggie, and she runs to catch it, and then lies down on the grass with a contented smile. She loves this hill in the sun. There's not much boat movement here at the moment. A couple of new boats have joined us, sneaking in just after the canal was reopened. Most, however, are in for a quick turnaround before pushing on to their winter moorings. Batteries are rested and charged on landline. Jobs and maintenance quickly done. Roofs swept, washed down. Engines tinkered with. Laundry washed, coals stocked up for the cold snaps that are bound to come. Sometimes the turnaround is so quick there's not much chance of more than a quick hello and an introduction to any dogs, if they have any, before they're off on their way again. On a normal year at about this time, there'd be much more movement on a day like this. Engines will be warming up, stern canopies lowered, mooring lines loosened. People taking advantage of the weather to saunter out and about for a night or two, catching the autumnal tints that are beginning to show. It's a bit too late in the season for a long cruise. The remaining closures aside, the winter stoppages are soon coming into effect, and so there's a much greater feel of dormancy here this year. Magpies and jackdaws jabber and clamour under the rise and fall of tintinnabulation on the wind. Trios and quintets of mallard fly low overhead, chuckling contact calls. before breaking into pairs and solos, before swinging back on the wind, outstretched pinions vibrating, playing the air with such mastery as they cut low down the canal. And there's now the undeniable feel of autumn in the air. The nights are noticeably drawing in, and although we're still having plenty of sunshine and gentle temperatures, the winds are now edged with a touch of the north, and down here by the shadowed eastward-facing side of the hedge, the morning's dew can stay all day. And the season's turning. But it's slow and steady, with a languid feel. Summer is not quite ready to leave her stage. There's time enough for one or two more curtain calls. The freshly green grass blazes once more with dandelions. Late bees zigzag haphazard, following their own road maps of the meadow, alighting delicately upon each flower head. The shrill piping whistle of a moorhen's alarm call. A cabbage-white butterfly flutters ponderously on the playful breeze, soft among the nettle and dripping willow. Families push buggies along the towpath as the smells of late breakfast perfume the air. And the sun climbs higher and loops towards its zenith, and the day grows older, and with it the industry along the moorings gathers apace. Despite it being such a dry and sunny year, it's been a difficult one for getting those jobs done on a boat. Most years, outside painting jobs are usually done with an eye on the weather for rain. 2, hopefully 3 good days of clear and bright are generally the order of the day. But this summer, it wasn't the ever-present threat of rain that stalled plans, but the heat. Even in the mid-20s, that's the mid to high 70s Fahrenheit, the cabin roof and sides get too hot to touch, and paint dries on the roller and brush. And now, this year, the year is gathering apace and the good days are numbered. So the moorings come to life with every sign of industry. There are long lists of jobs to be done before the weather really breaks and the season closes in on us. The days like this are once more growing rarer, and the opportunities they offer need to be grabbed with both hands. Take advantage while we can, before the coming dark, dank days of winter roll in upon us. Deckboards are lifted, paint pots are brought out. I like being here on days like these, busy pottery days. There's a companionable feeling about them. It seems to sum up the community which is made up of boat people so well. Most are individually going about their business, quietly getting on with their own independent lives and chores, and yet there's also an awareness of others around. Wave, a smile, a call out. Independent but together, enjoying the sweet autumn sun, and the sounds of the far-off botheration of jackdaws, and the busyness of ducks, and the curse of gnats getting stuck on newly brushed varnish. And the afternoon comes and stirs and shakes itself awake with our industry and movement. Power tools buzz, whir, purr and shrill, hammers rap and din, spanners clink, screwdrivers clatter into inaccessible places, carefully placed adjustable spanners vanish into thin air just when you need them. and even indoor work can be brought outside to capitalize on space and light. We've got a new shelf to put up, so in the company of a couple of ducks alongside me, I easily slip into the well-trodden practice and rituals of working with wood. Measure, mark, measure the second time to check the mark, drill, swear. God damn it, you never get this sort of thing happening on Steve Tyrrell's boat. I found that my DIY technique tends toward the theological. God is entreated in a variety of diverse and creative ways. But even this, and despite this underlying sense of the year speeding away and the need to get the jobs completed before the winter closes in, on an afternoon like this, there is a relaxed, unhurried, almost dreamy quality about it. It's these sort of days that we'll remember in the years to come, when reminiscing of this location, this moorings, or our time on the boat. And little groups form and cluster along the line of boats, chatting, offering advice, asking questions, commiserations, sharing news and views. I like these times, the loose knot of community of it all. Offering tools, lending a hand if needed. There's always somebody ready to help. Kettles whistle, paint and woodwork scrape. A few swallows yet to fly home slice the air on scimitar wings. Two young lads paddle past on plastic kayaks, shrill and exultant. Water drops from their paddles in rainbow crystals. They shout at each other, one seeing how easy it is to capsize. Their mother calls to them from across the water to be careful. They circle a few times a little way on, centre stream, before paddling back. And one of them breaks into a song, all things bright and beautiful. I was never expecting that. Never try to predict the strange firings of neural pathways that goes on in a young boy's head. And the day grows older with the sinking sun. The towpath empties, and the power tools slowly fall silent. A sense of peace descends, as softly and gently as autumn mist along the moorings, as it settles once more into a drowsy tranquility. You can almost feel it contentedly stretch, cat-like, in the golden light that dances through the shimmer of alder leaves and creates star fire of red and gold in the wings of gnats. The dandelions begin to close as a bumblebee flusters drunkenly home. The day now belongs to jackdaw and rook, who wheel above the cloudfall of oak and ash that line the canal. And the sky rings with their calls, sings with their calls, rolling and chiming with new but more ancient calls to worship. They cluster around the one oak, and then pour like a black cataract-strewn river northwards, following the line of the canal, the common thread that joins all our disparate lives together, human and non-human. And wait, are those the pealing bells of the parish church calling the faithful to evensong? No. It's a more uninhibited, unfenced, untamable, wilder, more ancient canticle. And what more fitting way to end this perfect Sunday in autumn at the moorings. And this is the narrowboat Erica signing off for the night and wishing you a very restful and peaceful night. Good night. Temperature outside 9.2 degrees. Inside 19 degrees. Humidity 88%. Dew point 8 degrees. Wind direction northeast. Wind speed 1 mile per hour. Barometric pressure 1033.9 rising. Cloud cover 90%. Cloud ceiling 40,000 feet. Precipitation nil. Moon phase 70.3%. Waning gibbous. Day length 10 hours 55 minutes. Sunset 18:21. Sky casting 7:28.